Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Now, let's make sure I know where we are. Text 19, is it? Does that sound good? Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of August, 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in the 10th chapter entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, text 19 at the bottom of page 441. Okay. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatah Kuru Shreshta Pradhanyatah Kuru Shreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya me Nastyanto Vistarasya me Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya me Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya me Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya me. Chad, go ahead. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya me. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Vistarasya me. Nelson, go ahead. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya me. Ladies. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya me. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatak Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya me. Not yet? Okay. Anyone else? You don't have to do it. Okay. Just read along silently. I'll do the synonyms. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Hanta, yes, te, unto you, Katayishyami, I shall speak, Divyaha, divine, he certainly, Atma Vibhutayaha, personal opulences,
pradhanyatak, which are principal, kuru shrestha, or best of the kurus, not asti, there is not, antaha, limit, vistarasya, to the extent, may, my. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. Purport. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulences. The senses of the individual soul are limited and do not permit him to understand the totality of Krishna's affairs. Still, the devotees try to understand Krishna, but not on the principle that they will be able to understand Krishna fully at any specific time or in any state of life. Rather, the very topics of Krishna are so relishable that they appear to the devotees as nectar. Thus, the devotees enjoy them. In discussing Krishna's opulences and his diverse energies, the pure devotees take transcendental pleasure. Therefore, they want to hear and discuss them. Krishna knows that living entities do not understand the extent of his opulences. He therefore agrees to state only the principal manifestations of his different energies. The word pradhanyatak, principle, is very important because we can understand only a few of the principal details of the Supreme Lord, for his features are unlimited. It is not possible to understand them all. And vibhuti, as used in this verse, refers to the opulences by which he controls the whole manifestation. In the Amarakosh dictionary, it is stated that vibhuti indicates an exceptional opulence. The impersonalist or pantheist cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord, nor the manifestations of his divine energies. Both in the material world and in the spiritual world, his energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. Now Krishna is describing what can be directly perceived by the common man. Thus part of his variegated energy is described in this way. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, now just to recap, we might have forgotten. Going back to text 8, we find that these verses are said to be the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, 4 essential verses. And I'll just read the English real fast. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So, just to recap, those who may not be familiar with the Vedanta Sutra. Sutra are little aphorisms, and Veda is knowledge, Anta is the culmination or the end. So these sutras, they're part of the Vedic literature, part of the Vedic wisdom writings, comprise what is considered to be the ultimate knowledge in aphoristic form, so they need explanation. And the whole book begins with the aphorism, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. It's an imperative for every human being. And ata means now, therefore, and it's very interesting because what kind of book begins with the word therefore? That's usually at the end of an argument, right? So it's understood that the inquisitive person has read at least some of the previous literatures that have given some idea about what God is, who the soul is, what the relationship is. But here, so therefore it says, now therefore, one should inquire into Brahman. Now what is this Brahman? This is a famous word in spiritual studies in India. So Brahman literally means the greatest, something that's practically inconceivable. And in this case, it means the source of everything, which is one definition of God in the Vedic culture, is that where everything has come from, you see. And of course the big question is that an impersonal reality? because sometimes Brahman is defined as the Brahma Jyoti. Jyoti means an effulgence. So it's understand that it is this very bright effulgence that the impersonalists want to merge into, lose their identity, lose their individual being and merge into that, and that'll be, in Buddhist terms, nirvana. Actually, that term is used in the Bhagavad Gita also, Brahma Nirvana. And the greatest, result of that will be you don't have to take birth again. You won't have to take birth in these temporary material bodies, which are sources of some pleasure, but they're also sources of a lot of misery. After all, we forgot, mercifully, what it was like to take birth and dwell in the womb for all those months and everything. And we came out of some traumatic experience. And then we grow, and eventually there are dangers, and there is also disease, eventually, old age, and death. That's the cycle, not just human beings, dogs, cats, insects. They may be much shorter lifetime, but it's all going through. So now, what is the significance of knowing this? We ourselves, this is the very first lesson of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's always worth keeping in mind, is that we ourselves are not this body. The body is like a complicated machine, or Krishna gives an example of a coat. When you die, it's like an old coat, you give it up and get a new coat. It's not just a one-shot deal. We've been doing this around and around and around again. So many different forms. Now, atato, as in now therefore, in the human form, you should use this special feature of the human life, which is the higher intelligence, and inquire into the source of your being with the aim, the preliminary aim, of ending this birth, old age, and disease cycle, which is just a lot of suffering. Little pleasure, but that pleasure, as Prabhupada says in the purport, is your worst enemy, because it keeps you attached to this world. And Krishna explains in the 8th chapter that the prominent thought that you have when you leave this body will determine your next body. Now, you can imagine how important it is to watch out what you expose your mind to. That's the whole idea, is that we are the masters of our destiny. If we have the knowledge of how to direct our vital energy and our thoughts and our intelligence in such a way that we become detached from the fleeting pleasures of this body, and we become attached to the Supreme Brahman, which is not a white light, but the supreme, all-attractive, powerful person in Krishna. That's the basic philosophy here. So Krishna is saying, I am that source, I am that Brahman, I'm Sarvasya Prabhavo. Everything has emanated from me, I am the source of everything, and the wise who know this well, what do? Try to merge in me? No. They try to serve me. They try to become fully conscious of me. And then he gives one verse, how. This is a summary. Mat-chitta, this is the most important thing, to place your mind on Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. By the way, today is a very important day. It's an anniversary of the day that he got on the boat to come to America to start this movement. And it's such an incredible story. And we realize he did it all for us. He didn't do it to make money and anything like that, or fame. No. He did it, number one, because he was instructed by his own spiritual master to do this, to try to spread this knowledge, this science. And two, because it's a prediction of our Lord Chaitanya, who's an incarnation of Krishna, that my name will be sung in every town and village of this world, not just in India, not just Bharatavarsha, but all over the world. So for that to happen, Prabhupada needed to get on that boat, and it wasn't a cruise ship, it wasn't the Queen Mary, it was a cargo ship that had one little cabin where he could, it wasn't designed for passengers. He had hardly any money. He was 69 years old, wasn't in the best of health, but he had that mission, that determination, and it was quite a crossing. He had 2 heart attacks, and if he had the third, he said, I'll be finished. But Krishna came in a dream to him. When he said, don't worry, I'm taking charge of the ship. You'll be all right. So it was one of the many miracles. It was a hurricane season in the Atlantic Ocean. I used to live in Miami for 6 years. And I know that when July, August, September comes, that's when you got to watch out. Keep track of those weather reports. You know, those hurricanes are always coming. In the northern hemisphere, they go from east to west. You see, that's why we hardly get any here. They may develop in Mexico, but then they go off, and sometimes, unfortunately, they hit Hawaii like they did last year. But the point is, we hardly ever get that here. But anyway, he's right in the middle of it, and he's crossing. But it was smooth as anything, the crossing, and in fact, so smooth that the captain's wife, who was riding with him on the ship, she asked Prabhupada kind of jokingly, "Will you please come back with us? We've never had such a smooth crossing of the Atlantic Ocean." So Prabhupada arrived. We're not going to go into detail of that, but this was the day when he got on the ship, very dramatically, wonderfully told in a book called the Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, a multi-volume biography of Srila Prabhupada, which wonderfully written by Satsub Das Goswami, and he describes it. So this is the anniversary of him getting on that ship, so it's a memorable day. And he came to teach the Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is one of the main books that he published early on. So we go back to 8, 9, 10, and 11. So then he's describing how to do that. Madchitta, Madgata Prana, Bodhayantak Parasparam, Katayantastamam Nityam, Tushyanti Chadamanti Cha. He's describing this in the purport we just read. That how do those who are intelligent and try to serve that Supreme Lord person, what do? They think of him. Now in this age, that thinking of Krishna begins and is most powerfully done through the chanting of his holy name. This mantra. Now there's all kinds of mantras in the Vedic culture, and they each have their own potencies. There's also a whole tradition of Tantra, which is kind of the lower, science. You can chant mantras to become powerful, to kill your enemies, and all this kind of thing. This is not that kind of mantra. The Maha Mantra is specifically designed to place us in touch with God through his sound of his name. And this is completely inconceivable. How this name is essentially non-different from God himself. And so if you try it, you can feel the changes. You become more peaceful, you become more blissful, but of course the mind has to be trained, and as soon as you stop chanting, the whole other vibration comes in. So the idea is at some point is to chant all the time. Even chant in your mind, or chant in your sleep, that's an advanced stage. But the whole idea is to increase progressively your remembrance of Krishna. And now, so that's the second, Madchitta, Madgata Prana. And their life energy, prana, is dedicated to me. Bodhayantak Parasparam. They come together, my devotees. This is text 9. And they're glorifying me together. Now, the archetype of that is Sankirtan, where I chant, you hear, you chant, I hear, the Hare Krishna mantra. And accompanied by music and dancing. You can't help but be Krishna conscious, you see? It's the easiest way to be Krishna. There's no prerequisites at all. Anybody, any age, any race, any gender, and whatever. You can take part in this. And it's all auspicious. As soon as you begin it, you've eradicated lifetimes worth of bad karma and good karma. You don't want good karma either, because that brings you back to the material world. So then he says, Katayantas, kata talks about me. They're always glorifying me together, and in this way, tushyanti chadamanti. And this tushyanti means they become pleased and they enjoy transcendental bliss, ramanti. So, we are pleasure-seeking beings. Who can deny it? Doesn't matter, we're human beings, dogs, whatever, whatever body we have, we try to find a way that we can enjoy, and we try to get as much of that as possible, you see. Unfortunately, the fleeting pleasures that come from the senses or the mind touching the sense objects, that has a very serious, what you would say, a consequence, which is that it plants the desire in your mind to do it again. This is to experience it again, right? I mean, when you're growing up, you don't know anything about sex life. But I remember they used to have these things, I don't know if they have anymore, called chocolate kisses. Do they still have those? They're very addictive. I was totally addicted at age 6, 7, and 8, chocolate kisses. So, that's, if you're not around it, then you don't think of it. But then when they're there, oh, yeah. Anyway, so this is material life. Unlimited varieties of things, of pleasures that you want to experience and pains that you want to enjoy. That's the flip side. So that's called conditioned life. You're completely identified with the body, and therefore as you get older, well, at first it's good. Okay, now, I can really enjoy. But then as you get older and older, it becomes harder. And the body becomes like an albatross, Okay, well, how can I fix it? Then you have to try to get health care. That's a big expense. It's just, but this is the process by which you can gradually transcend the limits of the body and experience Krishna consciousness more and more. And Krishna says, and then he responds, Hare Krishna, welcome. You could sit on that bench there, it's very comfortable. So, Krishna responds, he's in the heart. This is one of the things you learn in the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna unlimitedly expands. Why not? He's God, he can do whatever he wants. So he expands in each of our hearts as the Supersoul. So there's two souls in the heart. Just like there's one verse how there's two birds in the tree of the body, right? One is the enjoying bird, he's trying to eat those fruits, and the Supersoul bird, he's just watching his friend, you see. And so Krishna, as a Supersoul, he describes what he does there. He provides knowledge, remembrance, and also forgetfulness. Just like we have a conscience. Everyone has a conscience. If you don't have a conscience, you're a sociopath or something, right? So it means that we have a ballot. Well, no, that's bad to do. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hurt anybody, right? That's a conscience. So, but you may be angry at someone, but you say, whoa, wait a minute, let's cool it out. So that's the conscience telling you. That's the Supersoul trying to protect you, So Krishna says, for those who are always linked to me in devotional service and thinking of me, worship me with love, priti purvakam, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. So Krishna wants us back. He wants us back in the spiritual world. It's nice to think, to understand this kind of paradigm, that we're kind of in exile here. This is not paradise, obviously. There's a duality, pleasure and pain, and sometimes a lot of pain. You didn't realize that? Maybe right here. Well, this is but the idea is that there is such a place. And it is a place where Krishna is in his most all-attractive, original form, which is full of, he's changed the language, When you think of opulence, you can't have an opulence in the outside world. If you may be very rich, but you don't have an opulence, you have opulence. You have some wealth, you have some this and that, But Prabhupada said, no, Krishna is full in all 6 opulences, What are they? Wealth, of course. Strength. It's like this temple is dedicated to a pastime of Krishna's where he lifted a hill in order to protect his friends, his parents, and his cows from a tremendous storm sent by Indra, who was upset because Krishna convinced his coward friends not to perform a sacrifice for Indra. He said, who needs Indra? He's sending water on the oceans and everywhere, And anyway, he had an argument and he convinced them. And so they stopped the sacrifice, and Indra got furious, and a tremendous storm, big hurricanes, big boulders of ice, hail and wind. And so Krishna said, yeah, he lifted the hill. Every corner you see a nice little sculpture. And he's lifting the hill. And underneath, they went and they were protected for 7 full days. Nobody slept. Everyone was just drinking in the beauty of Krishna and interacting like that. So that's his strength. Some of Virya, Yashasakshya, fame. Fame is a big opulence. Celebrity, So who could be more well-known than God? Even if you don't know his name, you may not know the name Krishna, but you have your own name. But it's still the same person. So he's infinitely famous forever. And then Shriya, beauty. Why not? We want to be beautiful, right? We're little sample Krishnas. You see, we have his qualities in minute degree. We're infinitesimal, he's infinite. So he's infinitely beautiful, all attractive to everybody, you know. Beautiful adolescent form, you know, and with the playing the flute, that's part of his beauty, that attractive music he plays, everything. And then, Shriya, Jnana, knowledge, of course. I mean, in Western theology, right, God is, if he's nothing, he's three things. He's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. He's all-powerful, all-knowing, and present everywhere. Well, he's present everywhere as the Supersoul. Not just in our hearts, but in every atom, sustaining everything. You see? And in that way, he can know everything, because he's right there. So he knows everything. And all-powerful, he created all this whole universes, you know, and eventually we'll all merge back into him. We have this wonderful illustration in the corner there, if you have time to look at it, where he expands and the universes come out and go back in. So with all of those opulences, he is completely all attractive. And this Bhagavad Gita helps us to reach him. So then he says, I give them the intelligence, I destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness of ignorance in their heart. So then Arjuna, he glorifies Krishna. I understand you are the Param Brahma. You remember that Brahma, Tatato Brahma Jigyasa. So here Arjuna is saying that yes, you are that supreme Brahman, the supreme abode, purest, the absolute truth. And then he, I believe everything you say. Sarvameta Vritamanya, what everything that you're saying. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. Now, you remember we read this purport where it said, it's in this verse it appears that Arjuna is dissatisfied with his understanding of the Lord. Why is that? Because this conversation is taking place in a very dramatic venue, you know, between two big armies about ready to go to battle. And Arjuna is the chief warrior on one side. And it's been building for a long time in the Mahabharata, which is the context for these 18 chapters of a very long book. And so Arjuna wants to see, well, let me go see, I want to see who's ready to fight with us on the other side. So he asks Krishna to take the chariot. Krishna has taken on the role of a charioteer, a chariot driver, humble role. He wants to see, so please take my chariot between the two armies. We call it no man's land, right, between two big armies. So there on the other side, Arjuna sees his beloved grandfather figure, Bhishma Dev, his teacher who taught him everything he knows about the science of warfare, and many other relatives and friends, his cousins, or the sons of Dhritarashtra. Even though they were trying to kill him and his brothers, still he had affection for them. Anyway, he suddenly he gets cold feet. You know, he's a great warrior, has many victories behind him. But suddenly he says, well, why do I want to fight a war in which I'm going to kill my grandfather, my beloved grandfather and teacher? If I win the battle, whatever I win will be soaked with their blood, and it'll be better I just go off to the forest and beg and live that way. But he wasn't suited to that. He was a Kshatriya, you know, he wasn't a sannyasi or anything. So anyway, the result is he just sat down on the chariot and said, oh, Govinda, I cannot fight. This happens in the beginning of the second chapter. But then he realizes his only hope in this situation is to take the knowledge that only Krishna can give him. This is the importance of approaching someone who has the knowledge. Not Krishna. Krishna's not here right now personally, at least in his most manifest form. But someone who's a pure representative, who's a transparent medium or transparent channel, you know. And so that's the definition of an acharya or a guru. He's not making anything up himself. He's giving the knowledge that's here already in the Bhagavad Gita and larger book like Srimad Bhagavatam and others, in such a way that it's understandable and practicable for the time and circumstance. And that was Prabhupada's genius. He didn't start out with so much hard philosophy. He was giving basic preaching Bhagavad Gita, but he was emphasizing the chanting, the beautiful chanting, which he would lead himself at first, then gradually trained others, and prasadam, spiritual food. Some of you may have experienced that. This is all Taco Tuesday. Did you all have a taco, more or less? Anyway, so that's part of it, is that all your senses, including the tongue, including your taste buds, can be spiritualized so that you're seeing Krishna everywhere. And that's the point of this chapter. Arjuna, at this point, he says, I accept in truth everything you say. And so you would think, okay, let's go. Let's let the battle begin. I'm ready to fight now. But no, because for us, we need to be able to be trained and gradually learn how to see Krishna everywhere, see God's hand in everything, and to sublimate our senses, especially our vision and our sight and our hearing and everything. So that's what we're going to hear now. We're going to hear how Krishna is present in various items, and they're all, most of them are pertinent to the Vedic culture. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Who are the Adityas? And you got to learn how that. So he'll be saying all that. But the basic theme is that whatever you find, I'm the greatest one. They just went to Sequoia National Park. Did you go? You didn't go up. Maybe. So you have these big trees, 500 years old and 300 feet high. Did you see those? Yeah. So that should remind you of Krishna. Of trees, I am the Sequoia. It could easily be, Of mountains, I am Mount Everest. Right? So whatever we see that is a manifestation of something wonderful or just amazing, we say, oh, this is a special manifestation of Krishna's wonderful energy. And in this way, you start to be able to see God everywhere, which is part of the main purpose here. Okay, so going on. So what did we just read? We read 19, right? No, it wasn't 19. Which one was it? 19. It was 19. Hanta Tekadi. Oh, I'm sorry. It is. All right. I will tell you of my splendor, but only of those which are most prominent, for my opulence is limitless. So now he's going to begin a list. And some of these may be a little strange to us. We may not know what they are. But we can learn, and in this way we'll start to be able to apply this and see Krishna in the wonderful aspects of this world. Okay, if there's no discussion on these points, we can move forward. Ahamatma Godakesha Sarvabhuta Shayastitaha Ahamadishta Madhyamcha Bhutanam Anta Evacha. I am the Supersoul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Purport. In this verse, Arjuna is addressed as Gudakesh, which means one who has conquered the darkness of sleep. For those who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance, it is not possible to understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself in various ways in the material and spiritual worlds. Thus, this address by Krishna to Arjuna is significant. Because Arjuna is above such darkness, the personality of Godhead agrees to describe his various opulences. Krishna first informs Arjuna that he is the soul of the entire cosmic manifestation by dint of his primary expansion. Before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion, accepts the Purusha incarnation, and from him everything begins. So the Purusha incarnation, again, he's listed there. There's three of them. The Karana Daksha Vishnu, or the Mahavishnu, and then the Garbha Daksha Vishnu, and then Shira Daksha Vishnu. I think if it doesn't explain him here, well, maybe, yeah, it is explained in the last paragraph. Krishna first informs Arjuna that he is the soul of all the entire cosmic manifestation. Before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion, Mahavishnu, accepts the Purusha incarnation, and from him everything begins. Therefore he is Atma, the soul of the Mahatattva, the universal elements. The total material energy is not the cause of the creation. Actually, the Mahavishnu enters into the Mahatattva, the total material energy. He is the soul. When Mahavishnu enters into the manifested universes, he again manifests himself as the Supersoul in each and every entity. We have experienced that the personal body of the living entity exists due to the presence of the spiritual spark. Without the existence of the spiritual spark, the body cannot develop. Similarly, the material manifestation cannot develop unless the Supreme Soul, Krishna, enters. As stated in the Subal Upanishad, Prakrityadi Sarva Bhutantar Yami Sarva Sheshi Cha Narayanaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is existing as the Supersoul in all manifested universes. The three Purusha avatars are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. They are also described in the Narada Pancharatra, one of the Sattvata Tantras. Vishnos tu trini rupani purushakyan yato viduhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests three features as Karanodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. I'm going to explain those names in a second. In this material manifestation, Mahavishnu, or Karanodakashaya Vishnu, is described in the Brahma Samhita 547, Yak Karanana Vajale Bhatitisma Yoga Nidram. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the cause of all causes, lies down in the cosmic ocean as Mahavishnu. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the beginning of this universe, the maintainer of the universal manifestations, and the end of all energy. So first, Mahavishnu simply means the great Vishnu. But this word Karanodakashaya Vishnu is interesting. Karana means cause, and Udaka means ocean. So there's a causal ocean, and where everything begins. And in that causal ocean, this great Mahavishnu form is lying. And he's breathing in and out. And he's so, probably, you can imagine the caliber of this Mahavishnu. Because as he breathes out, all the universes come out in seed form. And they gradually expand. And then he further expands as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Garbha means a fetus in Sanskrit. So there's an ocean that this Garbhodakashaya Vishnu creates by his perspiration. He lies in that. And from him, Brahma takes birth. There's a lotus that grows from his navel, and on that lotus Brahma appears. And Brahma is the progenitor. He's the demiurge in the Greek philosophy, the actual creator of this universe, of each universe. There's a Brahma for each universe. So there's described in more detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam how Brahma, he's got 4 heads, but still it's a big headache for him how to populate the universe, because there's nothing there. There's only the living entities who merged into Mahavishnu, and now they need their material bodies again to take up their karma so that they get another chance to become purified and get out of the material world. So it's up to him as a progenitor, to see everyone takes birth. Anyway, it's a hit and miss at first, and the 4 Kumaras come out. 4 Kumaras are these 4 children, boys, and they don't want to grow up. Because if they grow up, they'll get entangled in family life. So they're very wise, but they're not going to produce any progeny. So Brahma becomes angry, and he frowns, and between his 2 eyebrows, then Shiva comes out. This is described in the 2nd canto. It all sounds very amazing, but that's from the Shastra we accept. So. And then the last Vishnu expansion is Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. It's another udaka of condensed milk. We have kheer every morning. And he is the Supersoul. He's in every universe on a planet called Shvetadvip, and he's lying in the ocean of milk, and he expands finally as a Supersoul in every heart and in every atom. And in this way, Vishnu is sustaining everything. We don't see him, but it's his energy that is sustaining everything, producing everything, maintaining everything, and ultimately destroying everything. So we have a certain amount of time, and how is that time? With the outbreaths of Mahavishnu. It lasts billions of years, but still, when he starts inhaling, then everything is going to be destroyed. So we want to try to become completely pure in this lifetime, or at least start to make progress. See, this is one of the wonderful things about Krishna consciousness, is that it's not limited to this body alone. Because the first premise is nobody dies. Nobody dies. I made a little poem. Every body dies. This body, all our bodies, dog's body. Every body dies, but nobody dies. No soul dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. And what is that life's goal? To regain, to revive our original identity as pure servants of Krishna in a certain role in the spiritual world. which is full of unlimited varieties of bliss, of happiness. It's all based on love. It's all based on this ocean of love, and expressing that love and in the different varieties of service to Krishna. And the most wonderful thing to think of, because we all have our relationships in this world, and there's billions of people we're not really related to, but we have our circle, and that gives us sustenance and relationship. But Krishna, being God, can have a very personal, intimate relationship with every one of us. And he has it, but we've forgotten it. So reviving that is the whole purpose of Bhakti Yoga. And it all sounds, like, well, somebody made it all up. This is real. But if you actually practice it, you'll see that your life transforms for the better. Meaning that I'll just in my own little history of life, I've been doing this since 73, so it's over 51 years. And never once did I think, boy, did I make a big mistake. No, it's never like that. It's always, I'm so thankful, And the idea is that I came through the 60s, a child of the 60s, wasn't really part of the hippie crowd, but I was part of that political crowd, the anti-war, which is a big thing in the 60s, the Vietnam War. Because they were drafting young men. I was 16, 17, oh boy, I got 18, they're going to draft me. So I said, I'll turn in my draft card and I'll go to jail like some of these guys, Anyway, that didn't happen. But it was a huge, defeat when Nixon won the election in '68. If you look up history, because we would go. I went to Washington 3 or 4 times. Thousands of people demonstrating, and I never got arrested, thank God. But many of my friends did, and it was just so horrible. It was like our government, and if you have a job, your taxes are paying for bombing these poor people in Vietnam for no reason. Ultimately, we just left there. Anyway, that was my mentality. So when that all happened, I became, I went to college, but I didn't have any meaning because I'm going to, turn my draft board in, draft card in. So I came home. And my father, bless him, he got me a 4F, which is like gold. 4F means that there's something wrong with you and they won't draft you. It was a psychology thing. I was kind of depressed, So that turned out to be very fortunate. So what to do? Eventually I said, I have this crummy job, so I'll go back to school at least. So instead I was in the University of Chicago. I had a full scholarship, I was only there about 3 months. But then I went to NYU for a while, and then where am I going to live? I lived on the east side, between 1st and 2nd Avenue on 9th Street, about 2 blocks from Tompkins Square Park. Those who know Prabhupada's early days, he was living in the same area. This was a few years earlier. And he would go to Tompkins Square Park and play half a bongo drum that he had for 3 hours and chant Hare Krishna with his first followers. And it was a time, hippies, when there were a lot of things going on, so people would come and sit and listen, And some would be intrigued, and the chanting was so powerful, they would come back to the storefront, which is just a few blocks away. Anyway, I came out of all that, and I had a terrific bout with hepatitis, almost died. And I was in the hospital for a month. I came out of that living at home, and I said, how am I going to, regain my health? So at that point, I had become interested in Eastern music with Ravi Shankar and the Beatles and this and that. So I said, I heard about yoga. I got into yoga. It's not like you could find a yoga studio, every few blocks. So it was in New York. I had to drive in there from Long Island. And that was my first exposure to Eastern, anything. There wasn't really much bhakti going on there, but it started me on the path. And eventually it led me to the temple in Brooklyn. And when I started chanting the mantra, my whole mentality, relaxed. In other words, I wasn't depressed, and the more I chanted, the more I liked it, and it was substantial. There's a substance there. There's something real. Anyone who chants seriously can attest to that. You may not know exactly how it's working. Who knows how it's working? But it's working. And it gives you faith that, this amazing philosophy maybe is true because it explains it. So anyway, when you come to this chapter, we're going to hear a whole bunch of lists of some beings which don't mean much to us. But the whole idea is that anything we see that's amazing, of bodies of water, I'm the ocean. So you can't we're not far from the ocean. So you take a walk down there and you see the incredible power and vastness of the ocean. Oh, this is a manifestation of the greatness of God, of Krishna. It didn't just happen by accident, you see. The sun, the light of the sun and the moon, we learned that in the 7th chapter, So anyway, that's what we're going to hear. And the whole idea is that Arjuna is asking Krishna to give this list, to give us a chance to, in our own environment, to start perceiving the wonder of God there. And if we're also chanting Hare Krishna, then we'll make a nice advancement. That's the whole idea. All right, any comments, questions on these points?
Quick question.
Okay, Prabhu.
Does the individual soul transmigrate between universes, or do they stay in one universe to carry out their trip?
Yeah, repeat it in the mic, because we have people outside.
Does the individual soul transmigrate between the jiva, that is, transmigrate between universes, or do they play out their trajectory of ascension within a single universe?
Well, as I explained, it's all according to your mentality and all of the thoughts and all the things accumulate in your life. So everyone has their own individual destiny that they make. So it may be that because Krishna knows everything everywhere, so he may say, yeah, the perfect next body for this person is not here, but it's in the next universe. So that's possible. But generally speaking, the universe is big enough to accommodate most of the varieties that we have. The main point is, right in the 2nd chapter, such an important verse, and then he reiterates it in the 6th chapter. Neha brahmanashosti pratyavayona vidyate. Svopamapa siddharmasa trayate mahato bayat. Such a wonderful verse. In this endeavor of Krishna consciousness, which anyone can take up, it's not difficult. There's no loss or diminution. In other words, the path is very long and there's some difficulties, and we start on the path, and in the end, by the time our death comes, which may come at any time, we may not be perfect. We probably won't be. But whatever progress you made, then it continues. But anything material you have, I worked so hard, I'm the 10th richest man in the world. All right, I made it. And you all leave that. You leave that completely here, right? You go, your soul leaves, and that money is stay in the bank and the stocks, whatever else you have. So what did you gain? Nothing. And you probably went in order to get all that. So that's why living simply is one of the principles of Krishna consciousness, because all your attachments, to this world, they'll bring you back. They're called Hridaya Granthi, knots in the heart. But this mantra and so many other things are glorified. The Bhagavad Gita, the very chanting or reading these verses, is a powerful weapon to cut those knots. And so we can't and we don't want to kill our desires. That's other groups try to do that, become desireless. You can't become desireless. We want to purify the desires, so that those desires will bring us to a higher status of Krishna consciousness, and take us to the step by step, or even all the way back to Godhead. It all depends on purifying our desires, so that the desire is, succinctly. And the perfect example. Just think of a child. We had several children here last night, and one of them was, her mother was. She had the deities. The kid's watching the deities, and the kid is in ecstasy. Did you see her? The little girl was enjoying so much. There was the daughter and the granddaughter of a lady here, Jessie. So the idea is that's wonderful. The kid is developing. Whatever you learn in your first 5 years is very very significant for your whole life. They say. So we want to try to make as much advancement as possible in this lifetime, and it is possible to make a lot of advancement. So that next lifetime will continue. We may not go all the way back to Godhead, but we'll take birth in a situation that will be very auspicious for continuing, a family of devotees, whatever. So that's the whole program. Okay, it's a little late. time for one little poem, which is kind of my signature. And this one is pretty much sums up Krishna consciousness. Well, here it is. All right. Everybody dies. No. Everybody dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. Or, and just one, poem, and there's so many beautiful verses. The Sanskrit language is unique. Here I'll just give you an example of one verse. I don't have a poem for it, but just the meter of it, the chanda meter. Krishna is entering the forest, and he's describing how attractive the forest of Vrindavan is. Every day he goes to the forest with his friends and cows, and they play all day, and that's their job, to play all day. Wouldn't that be a nice job? Sugandha ma kanda pakadamakadandasya madure vinisyande vandi kutamadapavrinnam muhuridam kutandolanamando natabinanhalais chandanagare mamanandam vrinda vipanamatulang tundalayati. So this is Vidagdha Madhava, written by Rupa Goswami, a consummate devotee and Sanskrit scholar. So Sugandha, very, very fragrant, beautiful fragrances of from the mango buds are growing on the mango trees, and they're oozing out this nectar for the bees, and the bees are going mad with that sweet nectar, and they're singing songs glorifying Krishna. Sugandha prakadamakadandasya. Makadandasya is the mango buds. Madhure, very sweet. Vinisyande Vandi Krita. Now, Vandis are professional praisers. There's a name for it. I learned it because I'm an editor. Panegyrist. Does anyone hear that before? You know it. Yeah, professional praisers. Like in the kings, they wouldn't have alarm clocks. They'd have a bunch of singers who would wake them up, praising them, telling about, oh, you won this battle and everything. Oh, very good, So, but now he's turning the bees into panegyrists. They're glorified Krishna. They're not just dumb bees. They're singing songs. So Pakadam Madhure Vinisyande Vandi Krita Madhupa. Madhupa are the bees. They drink honey. Vrindam Moharidam. Kutandolan Mando another bit. And the gentle breezes come from the Malaya hills, which are fragrant with sandalwood trees. They are moving the creepers and everything back and forth. In this way, Mama Ananda, my bliss is being increased more and more, just coming into Vrindavan. So that's just one verse. All right, we better hurry because they're going to open the curtains. Thank you very much. We'll continue tomorrow. Sorry, no tacos, but we'll have our... What is it? Yeah, Waffle Wednesday. It's on the subtle platform now. We're trying to manifest. Okay. Uh-oh. She's ready for me. Okay.